From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Well, good afternoon to Montana and northern Wyoming. Thanks for joining us on your Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade, and we kick things off right away with what everyone is talking about, the cooler weather in the west and some heat in the east.
That's right. You know, we're coming off yesterday, record-breaking temperatures across the state in northern Wyoming. A bit of a different story right now. She'd mentioned different story the west to the east. Let's take a look at those temperatures. Now we've got a cold front making its way through, and we've had some rain to cool things down. Missoula right now at 76, Butte at 78. We've got 77 in Bozeman, but you get to the central part of the state over to the east and northern Wyoming. We've got temperatures in the 90s, 94 in Billings, 93 in Sheridan. We've got 93 in Glendive. That cold front hasn't made its way over this way yet. It will by the time we get to the weekend, but before that happens, not only do we have the heat, but a chance at severe weather. We'll take a look coming up. Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Miller. Well, many Montana small businesses were kept afloat during the darkest days of the pandemic, thanks in some part to federal loans. The Small Business Administration approved more than 46,000 separate loans through the Paycheck Protection Program, totaling almost $3 billion. In larger Montana cities, Billings businesses were awarded $426 million in funding to the $79 million handed out in Butte. Now, a majority of the loans distributed in Montana went to businesses with just one employee for an average of $11,000 per loan. The highest loan in the state, $10 million to a Missoula healthcare company. Officials say almost 2/3 of Montana's PPP loans will be forgiven.
In order to have that opportunity to stay vibrant and continue to make sales, continue to serve their communities, right? Serve products and services for their communities. Really important in Montana.
And again, another big award, $10 million to a Missoula-based in-home health service, $7.2 million to Billings architectural and engineering firm Cushing Terrell, and $6.8 million to Helena's Dick Anderson Construction. Well, Montana U.S. Senator Steve Daines says he's getting a better understanding of what's going on at Malmstrom Air Force Base. The senator toured the base yesterday while he was in Great Falls. He said he hasn't been able to have a face-to-face tour since the pandemic began, but he has stayed in contact with the base by phone and Zoom. Along with the tour, he says he got an update on the threat to the U.S. from China.
Just reminds us once again the importance of the mission at Malmstrom, because China poses a very real threat to our national security, and I'm grateful for the men and women who keep us safe because we're strong.
Well, last month, Montana U.S. Senator Jon Tester also checked in and toured the base. Well, the two senators representing Montana in Washington, D.C. are weighing in on grizzly bears. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently moved to keep the animals designated as threatened species. Republican Senator Steve Daines says he's personally seen more grizzly bears and believes it's time to remove them from the list. Democrat Jon Tester led the effort to delist wolves, but isn't ready to speak out as strongly on bears.
If they're recovered and the science shows it, we ought to delist them. And if they're recovered in the Yellowstone ecosystem and the science shows that, delist them. Manage them as they need to be managed. If they're not recovered, then no. And if we use the wrong management tools that puts these animals back on the endangered species list, shame on us. So what I'm saying is, let science guide our decisions here.
So the number of human-bear conflicts will continue to increase. The predation losses and livestock will continue to increase, and because of grizzly bears. Let's look at the quantitative evidence. They've set very clear recovery targets. The grizzly bear is now well above those targets, just like we had happen with the wolves.
Now, right now, a lot of eyes are on new U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland to see what course she may chart in the grizzly protection debate. Well, today, Republicans are expected to announce another counterproposal as infrastructure negotiations with the White House continue. President Biden will meet with the GOP lead negotiator on infrastructure today. That meeting comes one day after the president lowered his initial asking price by $700 million, getting it down to $1 trillion. Paying for the infrastructure package has been the main sticking point in negotiations. Republicans want to use unspent COVID relief funds to avoid raising the corporate tax rate. And just announced this morning, according to CNN, former President Donald Trump remains banned from Facebook platforms until at least January 2023. Now, Facebook says it will then assess the circumstances to see if he should be allowed back on the platform. And Queen Elizabeth plans to meet with President Joe Biden later this month. The president will be in the UK for the upcoming G7 summit. But before that begins, he will stop in at Windsor Castle on June 13th. This will be the Queen's first meeting with a world leader since her husband, Prince Philip, died. Queen Elizabeth took reign in 1952 and has met with every U.S. president since then, except for Lyndon B. Johnson. Well, Battle of the Gains. It's a nonprofit working to help people improve their mental health. Well, right now, it's taking its message national and arrived in Montana this week. MTN's Alexia Gallo reports.
Traveling in this RV is a couple visiting all of our nation's 50 state capitals. But they're not just doing this for fun. They're motivated by a cause.
You know, a lot of people are experiencing anxiety and depression, especially right now. So we are interviewing people across the country, asking them battles they went through in 2020 and advice they have for people in 2021.
Billy is the founder of Battle of the Gains. Their mission is to battle the rising rates of depression and other mental health issues and gain back health physically, mentally, or even financially. Billy decided to take their message on a nationwide tour, collecting pandemic experiences and advice from people across the country.
Talk to business owners, we stop by the local colleges and talk to college students, and then just interviews on the street. We try to go to all the different main attractions, and we're just interviewing all different types of people and hearing their stories, and there's definitely a lot of stories. We've interviewed hundreds of people across the country, and we've gotten thousands of videos, so it's been a really cool experience.
As of Thursday, Billy has hit 42 state capitals, capturing the whole journey on film and social media. But the real work for Battle of the Gains begins after the trip.
That's where we're going to be reaching out to different businesses that want to be a part of future events, the chapters we want to start up in each state. So it's going to take a lot of work, but I'm really excited for it. I feel like it's what I was meant to do, and it's a really exciting thing to be living out my dream. So,
in Helena, Alexia Guayo, MTN News.
Thanks, Alexi. Now, Battle of the Gains has plans to turn all of those interviews and advice from across the country into a book. Well, there's an urban legend that Montana has an old law stating if a student rides his or her horse to school, the school principal has to feed and tend to the horse throughout the day. Well, it's difficult to pinpoint any actual law in writing, but that didn't stop 3 students at East Middle School in Great Falls from having some fun on the last day of instruction this year. Emily Abramson and sisters Abby and Bree McDonald surprised classmates and staff by riding in on their horses, tying them up in the courtyard and going about their day. Now, the group started planning for this a year ago.
We were trying to look up and research some stuff on bringing horses to school and see what would kind of happen, and we just found that and we thought it was really cool. And we didn't think it would actually happen, but I'm excited it did.
They asked me about it and I kind of ignored it, and then they asked me about it again and I kind of ignored it, and then they asked me about it again and I caved on it. They're just great kids, and they had a plan of how they were going to take care of things and how to make sure it was safe for everybody, and so it's pretty hard to say no to them.
Pretty darn fun. Well, down in Wyoming, a Cody tradition that has stood since 1938 is back. Tickets are available for the Cody Night Rodeo. Now, it's the only nightly rodeo in the world. It kicked off this week and runs through August. Gates at Stampede Park open at 7 o'clock every night, with the actual event starting at 8. Tickets are $23 for adults and $11.50 for the kids. You can purchase them at CodyStampedeRodeo.com. Well, ahead on your noon news, we go behind the curtain with a look at what it takes before a Billings entertainment venue can safely open post-pandemic. But first, meteorologist Miller Robson is in next with your statewide weather forecast. Don't go away.